I see a lot of amazing stuff all the time. And so it's not all that often where a comic comes that I'm just like, whoa. And there's one particular kind of unusual feature that is always important to me when I find a copy of this book. I know there are people that have given up on putting together runs of prize because of this book. This is the one they're like, it's just not going to happen.
Some of the rarest, biggest books in all the hobby. We're going to get behind the scenes perspective from Rick Akers, Vice President of Heritage Auctions. So we're looking at Blue Ribbon Comics 21. Rick, tell me about this book.
How does anyone who likes MLJ not find themselves kind of fawning over this book featuring Captain Flag with that incredible ghoulish cover and the damsel in distress 9.0? I think there's only one on the census higher.
Here's another great cover. Rick, what do you know about this book?
Wow. Well, a friend of mine, someone who I've come to know over the last several years, consigned this to us. Dynamic 8. You're looking at this great Chesler book with this incredible Gus Rika cover, off-white to white pages. I mean, what is it? There's only 2 higher than this. This book has just seen so much interest. That melting candle, face is just so cool. And 20 universal copies on the census. And I know we've seen some pretty strong growth in sales in this book in recent times. I think the last 3.0 went for about 20 grand.
This is Golden Age. You've got Adventure Comics number 41. Tell us about it, Rick.
This book, every time I see this book, which isn't that often, I'm just like, I don't know, I almost have like a gut reaction to it. And it's like one of those incredible covers that just you can almost feel yourself in the position where you're upside down and the shark is coming up after you. It's got Sandman in there. It's got an ad for the New York World's Fair. It's a pretty high grade copy. There's only 4 higher than this.
Classic cover, underwater and rare. It's like, I'm done. I'm like, Keston's going to sell his house for that comic book. Speaking of underwater, this one is not one that you will see every day. Rick, tell us about this one.
I tell you, I mean, we've only had 4 copies of this ever, and this is the best one we've had. And there's only 1 higher, and this is at 5.5. The consignor is making a big sacrifice to put it out there. I know that they loved it, and I know that the next owner of this book's going to love it too. I know there are people that have given up on putting together runs of prize because of this book. This is the one they're like, it's just not going to happen.
Here's another one, a little bit more well-known, but also really, really tough. Silver Streak Comics number 6.
The classic claw cover, Jack Cole. I have had people over the years reach out and they're like, hey, is there a Silver Streak 6 coming up? Because I think it's one of those like kind of must-have books for Golden Age, focused cover collectors to pick up. You might see 1 or 2 out over the course of a year or 2, and then they might go away for 3 or 4 years. That's kind of how this book goes.
This is also featured on the Gerber Photo Journal too. Okay, so as you can tell, we can dive deep into like Golden Age nerdiness. It's time that we throw some books back for the people. Okay, Rick? So we're going to go back to some people books here. And it doesn't get much more American or populist than this book. What is it, Rick?
Oh, I mean, Incredible Hulk number 1. I'm glad we got a book that was for the people. This 9.0 off-white white. I mean, that's a pretty amazing copy with only 7 higher of one of the most desirable, books of the Silver Age. One other thing about this book, I've had a couple copies of this book in the past myself, and there's one particular kind of unusual feature that is always important to me when I find a copy of this book. And I swear I don't have a foot fetish, but if you look down, this is one of the copies that's like got full up down, he's got the full big toe. I mean, you don't want, if you're going to get, and he's even got space below there, that's actually not very common. You don't see that very much. Hey, that should be part of your decision-making process if you're looking at this one.
Rick, I'm glad you're a student of art that's cut off, because Keston knows we've done a whole video on this, and I am very astute at looking at cut off edges and the full subby filled and FF6 and all that. But yeah, that toe is, something that's important. And I'd rather have more art at the bottom and have that logo pushed up and have a small margin at the top and have a full artwork at the toe at the bottom.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the dynamic foot duo.
When I'm looking at a book where you're going to be into a significant amount of money, I want to get what I like, and I think everybody has different things that are important to them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
For someone else, they may be like, I don't really care about some marble chipping because I'm getting a little bit of a discount on a book that's really nice, like maybe more structurally sound otherwise. So I think that everybody picks their things.
So let's keep with that 9.0 theme. So now we got X-Men #1. Tell us about this copy, Rick.
Here's a 9.0, and you're looking at a book with 4,900 blue labels, and there's only 43 higher than this. So what are you looking at? This is like the top 1.5%. To take advantage of right now, there's been a little bit of fluctuation in the market lately, over the last couple of years. And so I think to come in now, it could be a great time for someone to pick up, an X-Men 1 for sure.
All right. So we spent enough time with these, populist books. It's time to go back to the esoteric weirdness that we all enjoy. And this isn't as esoteric as some other ones. This is maybe the best known fiction house book.
I loved Spider-Man as a kid. I liked Hulk as a kid, but I was not really as drawn to Golden Age superheroes as I was their perception of science fiction in that period. That was my, like I said, gateway drug into Golden Age. When I was on the boards before I worked with Heritage, I was probably known as the Planet guy and the Baker guy the most. And then, of course, we got something very special in Planets from the same collection in this auction.
Maybe you're referring to this one?
I am. Planet Comics #10, old label, CGC 9.6, Edgar Church Mile High copy. I mean, whoa. One of the best, black cover, Dan Zlnarewicz, Yamahama. I mean, this is obviously the highest graded copy, and the next highest graded is a 9.0. Man, you zoom in on this thing, it is impeccable. Just gorgeous.
Rick said, Keston, I got 2 in this auction that are especially for you. And I'd already looked through the auction a bit, and I was like, damn it. I was like, these 2 books I'm probably going to bid on. And now Rick is going to bring more exposure to them. Look at this freakishly beautiful book.
Well, I know this one appeals to you. I mean, and it appeals to me too. It is incredibly gorgeous. One of the great Schomburg airbrush covers. Our notes say that this is higher than the Mile High, the Promise, or the Crippen. This is the 9.8.
If you're listening to this, just hold back a little bit. Let your brother Keston get this at a reasonable deal. I'm not asking for a bargain, but just a reasonable deal. Yeah, tell me about this one, Rick.
Yeah, I love that one, don't you? Wonder Comics 19, and there is one other 9.8.
Another book here, and this is Funda #1 from 1952 from Magazine Enterprises. What do you know about this one, Rick?
Well, I mean, this is a super classic book for sure. I mean, I think it's credited as being the only book that has Frazetta art, cover to cover. The Okajima pedigree, has been well documented on all across comic fandom as one of the great pedigrees. Apparently, we found out now it's a brother and sister duo that was in the Japanese concentration camps. They saved these comics.
Okay, y'all, we have, in my opinion, saved the best for last. Rick, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is a Fantastic 3 that was consigned to me. I went to this consigner's home. They had sent me a bunch of pictures of all kinds of books. And there was a lot of Disney books, like from the late 1940s, Archies. And so they sent me this group of these Archies and Disneys, and they were like, is there any value here? Is there anything here that's special? And with this big group of Archies and Disneys, I saw like one of the pictures in the background, like a blue ribbon. And so I said, well, these Archies and Disneys, they're not particularly all that valuable. I mean, there's some value there, but I see this other book in the background. Can you send me? Is there more books like that? And they're like, oh, you would be interested in those? And I said, yeah. I run into this a lot with people who are not part of our hobby, a death in the family, and then they have all these books that they didn't know anything about. A lot of people who reach out who aren't part of our community, they don't see these kinds of books as being anything. They know Donald Duck. They've heard of Archie and Superman and Batman. Sometimes they see and they'll send us that. But so many times, if they have books like these, I feel like they're almost ready to throw them away because they don't think there's anything to it. And then they'll send us the pictures of Disney's and stuff. As we got deeper in, they took more pictures. As I'm going through the pictures, up comes like Wonder World 7 and all these different, Fox books. And then there is this book. And I was like, oh, okay. Yes, all right. So I ended up going out there. I held this book in my hand before we had it graded. It's a starter copy for someone to get in the door with a Fantastic 3. What you really want to see on that cover is present and looks great. Many people would say this is Lou Fine's masterpiece. Boy, it's interesting. There's 4 and 0.5 and only 15 higher.
This is the tail end of 1939, very early, and it appeals to robot collectors big time. Very tough book. It does not come up a lot, and it's in that suspense 3 category where people usually hold on to these for quite some time unless they upgrade.
Ben and I worked on with Heritage many years ago on putting together a survey, and we tried to figure out the top covers of the Golden Age, and Fantastic Comics number 3 was way up there. In fact, it finished number 3, only behind.
I can guess what the other 2 are. I want to take a guess, and I don't know which one would have come in first or which one would have come in second. Detective 31 and Suspense 3.
Yep, that's it. I would put Suspense number 1 at the very number 1 spot, but it turned out that Tech 31 beat it out a little bit. But it was like 1, 2, and 3, they were fairly close, and then a lot of other books followed behind them. Out of those 3 books, Fantastic Comics number 3 is the toughest to get. Speaking of what I consider to be the best cover of all time, it just so happens that a copy is here. Rick, what are we looking at?
We're looking at a 1.5 off-white pages that really presents kind of great. It's got really good color. It's got obviously the chip down the left and the right, and some spine issues. But man, what a beautiful 1.5 of Suspense number 3. I think this is going to be an interesting example how much cover presentation affects final value. I think this copy is kind of exactly what a lot of people are looking for, to be honest with you. Is they're like, oh man, if I could just find a low grade, nice presenting copy with good color, so I honestly expect there to be kind of fireworks on this.
Keston knows this. This is something that on the right edge, usually that swastika on the armband.
Oh, right here, yeah.
One is often miscut or missing on this book. So this is one of the few where you get almost a full look at that.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things I noticed. And then obviously you got the full Schomburg signed box, which is a big deal breaker if that's missing. If there's a piece out right there, for me anyway, that's a big deal breaker.
Oftentimes this little piece is out, and it may be because it's kind of an overhang for the rest of the book and it gets brittle or something, it comes off. But it's so nice that that's there too. So that's super unusual to have that.
A friend of mine brought this in, and I saw it sitting on his desk raw before it went to CGC, and I was just like, whoa. I had to take a look at that, and I was just like, this is a very, very nice presenting copy for sure.
Yes, you got 48 total on census. 31 are unrestored. But yeah, look at that. Half of them are 1.5 or lower. So you're actually, a 1.5 is like a median copy.
I'm looking at how many people are tracking this book. There's 199 trackers on this book right now. And the X-Men 1, for instance, has 138. which is already pretty good. But 109, I mean, the Hulk one has 229. There's obviously more collectors out there for Marvel superhero books than there are for Golden Age books, but this book, I think, has everybody's kind of watching.
All right, so we're going to move to the final book, last but not least.
Ta-da.
Yeah, this is a book that you don't see every day. What is this, Rick?
This is a Detective Comics #1 from 1937, CGC 6.5. This is the highest graded copy to ever publicly auction. There's only the 8.0 above it. There's 2 others tied with it. I brought this in from a consignor, and we spent some time talking, and they were not sure whether they wanted to do it or not. It was a family that just has a handful of Golden Age comics. That's it. And it just so happens that they had great taste in what they got years ago. If you were to ask me like where this book was going to end, I would just say I don't know. I'm super excited about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and how those funds help this family. They're not in this hobby every day. They have something amazing. We bring it to market, and then that really positively affects life for them. I see a lot of amazing stuff all the time. And so it's not all that often where a comic comes that I'm just like, whoa. You hardly ever see this book, first of all. And if you do, it's almost always restored or something, or has brittle pages or whatever. And then to see a copy at this level.
Tech ones are far and few. I think I saw more in the first 15 years of my collecting than the back end of the 15 years, honestly. Vincent Sullivan cover.
Rick, would you like to close with anything?
Oh, it's funny you say that because it takes me back to church. Would you like to close with prayer today? That's what they always say. Amen. Hey, Keston, thanks for this opportunity to share with your audience more about what's coming up in the April signature auction. I think that it's going to be an awesome auction, April 3rd through 6th. You can find it at ha.com/7413. And just like my friend consigned a lot of Planet Comics and the Silver Streak 6 to pay for an Uber Grail, maybe one of your Uber Grails are in here, and if you want to consign to help pay for it, I'm here, ricka@ha.com.
Thanks so much, Rick. And for everybody out there, if you've ever wondered, what does it take to be a pro in comic book dealing? Well, Rick actually tells his origin story. If you want to learn more about that, check out this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you around real soon.